Happy Pride Month. It's gay people's birthday. Everybody wish gay people a happy birthday in the comments. I've never been like a Pride Month guy. I mean, this is the first year I think I've ever remembered that it's happening. But since I did remember that it is Pride Month, I wanted to take the opportunity to make a video about something that's made me pretty frustrated lately. This is a video essay about the groomer narrative. But first, okay, here's an ad. Sorry, all right? I have to pay for dog food. You want to let this guy go hungry, please? This video is sponsored by Aura. Raiders, haters, spies, infiltrators, and data brokers alike. Guys that really want to know what your password is. They all want your data. And guess what? If you're not protected, it's out there. It is. If you've ever gotten a spam call, it means that your data has probably been purchased by a data broker or sold by another one. Or it can be the middleman between you and data brokers and can submit opt-out requests on your behalf, which are legally binding. They can take the hard work out of being safe online and make sure that your data is secure. You can try Aura for free for 2 weeks using my link aura.com/EthanOnline to try it for yourself to see just how safe you can be. Aura is super easy to set up, and you don't have to have multiple different apps for things like parental controls, password management, VPNs, identity theft insurance. It's all in one place. Aura. I don't know anything about the dark web, and it frightens me so. But thanks to Aura, they can scan the dark web to make sure your information's not on there, and I like that. Listen, guys, just you either want the data brokers to have your data or you don't. Again, check out the link in the description or go to aura.com/EthanOnline for 2 weeks of free protection with Aura and see if it's for you. Do it now, please. Anyway, thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video, and that's it. For the last few years, anti-trans activists paid for by billionaires have been ramping up on anti-queer rhetoric. They made a whole movie about how sociologists and doctors are wrong about trans people because a woman is...
What is a woman?
An adult human female. Who needs help opening this?
That's just awesome. The word groomer has lost all meaning because conservatives won't stop saying it to cartoons. It's basically just a buzzword for homophobes to signal how much they think about children. But the word groomer and the moral panic behind why it's said by so many conservatives contributes to a false narrative that's been used to justify violence and oppression of queer people for decades. The groomer narrative. In the aftermath of the Stonewall riots, anti-gay activism started gaining public favor all over the country. Before too long, activists started organizing. It's 1977, the same year Star Wars first premieres in theaters. That's not even that long ago. That could be your stepdad in there. But 1977 is also the same year the Save Our Children Coalition was formed. And this is a big deal because before this point, there was no actual organized anti-gay movement in America. There were no groups specifically opposed to gay rights. Why would you do that?
For several years I've been praying for God to revive America. And when word came that there was an ordinance in Miami that would allow known homosexuals to teach my children, God help us as a nation to stand these dark days.
Gay rights in the 70s was a key issue. It was starting to be used as a tool for conservatives to radicalize people that otherwise wouldn't vote at all. Christian conservatives were whipped into a frenzy with lies and homophobic propaganda, and they started pressuring state governments for change, and they got it. Thanks to the efforts to save our children, laws protecting gay people from discrimination and protecting their rights to housing and public services were stripped all over the country in the late 70s. This exact thing happened in Minnesota, and overnight, gay people were allowed to be rejected from job applications and housing applications just because they were gay. And this happened while the first openly gay man ever elected to public office was serving as a state senator in Minnesota. Minneapolis and St. Paul's governments had just passed laws protecting gay rights, only to have them completely dissolved just a few years later by the state government. The Catholic Church of the Twin Cities had a lot of political power at the time and were openly in support of these new state laws. And in protest, someone threw a chocolate cream pie in the face of John Roach, who was a Catholic archbishop known for public homophobic discrimination. We'll come back to John Roach in a bit, but what's important to me right now is the pie. This is an incident that wasn't even covered in national news. As far as I know, there's not even any pictures of it. But this act of protest is what inspired the pieing of Anita Brandt, celebrity spokesperson for Save Our Children. All this gay history stuff, it's all tied together, it's all in together, it's all together. Save the kids, protect the kids, fight for the kids, it's all for the kids. kids because if they accidentally interact with a gay person, they might choose to be gay instead of normal. That's the premise of this kind of homophobia, right? It's part of the groomer narrative. Why else would you want to shame gay people back into their houses for the sake of the kids? And I feel like this kind of homophobia is pretty easy to identify. You know it when you see it. And I feel like most people know that it's wrong. Like, fundamentally, it doesn't make sense. Being gay isn't a choice. It's not something that you can catch or transmit like a disease. The logic that being gay is a choice is exactly why conversion centers exist. Overwhelmingly, no one believes that those still work, right? So what are we doing? But even though there's no evidence to support that you can turn someone else gay, much less a child, the groomer narrative is the backbone of organized homophobia, which is used as like a recruiting tool to convert insecure, uneducated weirdos into loud reactionaries. And what are they saying?
Massachusetts middle schoolers tore down pride decorations and chanted that their pronouns were USA in a striking protest after they were asked to wear rainbow colors to school. What? Asked to wear rainbow colors to school? Why?
Really, if anyone here is more like Hitler, most like Hitler, one could argue, it's these people abusing children.
Apart from any Civil War discussion, I mean, it's like literal grooming happening in front of the crowd.
We're not raising our kids properly. The kids are being abused, things like that.
These people are on video grooming children, and there's no repercussions for it. They're doing simulated sodomy in front of kids.
Yeah, what's the American culture right now? Twerking?
You are trying to force the kids to wear pride clothes. It's because you're a weirdo groomer.
They said you can't insinuate that they're coming for children. You can't insinuate that. Remember, we had these conversations.
Can we say it now?
Can we say it now?
Is it fair game if we have video evidence of them coming for children in a specific instance here?
Not only morally abominable, but also, by the way, illegal.
Do they show any videos of a man and a woman kissing and explaining what that is and tell their students that they have to wear a certain set of clothing to celebrate a man and a woman? No, they don't.
Promoting sodomy, promoting obesity.
Graphic depictions of gay sex. Those must be available to 7 to 8-year-olds at school libraries. It's very, very important. For those that aren't familiar, in this book, there's graphic depictions of adult activities.
But that's marketed in kids' libraries.
Right.
They had them handing dollar bills to, which, by the way, I mean, I know people say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, it's generally done at a strip club, which, if you bring children, is illegal. Right.
We all know what's wrong with
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why it's wrong.
Were the employees and parents and all the other adults involved arrested, shackled, and frog marched to jail? No, in fact, Texas cops stood outside and did nothing.
Do you feel what Pride Month is really about?
If it's possible to rank the villains in this situation, would certainly take the title as the biggest scumbag. Now, the degenerate bar owner who hosted this event, the cross-dressers who strutted around for a bunch of elementary schoolers, are all demonic filth as well, of course.
Save the kids. What the homosexuals want. Repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent. Yeah, I'm sure that's real. Federal support for sex education courses prepared and taught by gay women and men presenting homosexuality as a valid, healthy preference and lifestyle as a viable alternative to heterosexuality. It's not just an alternative, it's better. Enactment of legislation so that child custody, adoption, visitation rights, foster parenting, and the like shall not be denied because of sexual orientation. Oh, the horror. Yeah, one of these things are not like the other here. This is a brochure from the Save Our Children campaign. But that first line is just that fucking same old-fashioned fear-mongering that we still hear today. Except now, we hear it about trans people. And don't get me wrong, the people that say this shit about trans people definitely think this about gay people too, whether or not they say it. Oh, but some of them are gay or some of them are trans. How could they possibly be homophobic? This groomer shit has been around for more than 50 years. I'm tired of it. But don't confuse me saying it's the same shit for saying it's just as bad, because no, it's worse. In 2023, any fucking freak bozo, no matter who they are, can pop up on your YouTube screen and talk about how fucking trans people are bad and buy my t-shirt that says trans people are bad. And now we can start talking about really creepy shit about children now because we're talking about trans people. Conservatives just, they have children on their mind all the time. You can't blame them for wanting to talk about children every chance they get.
So like this groomer narrative, it's very effective because people have been grooming children sexually. Yeah. We see it on, on videos and crazy stuff. Groomer is a neutral term. Parents groom children to be great people.
They decided that an actual word to describe a behavior is a slur. Imagine if someone skateboarded and then you're like, that's a skateboarder right there. And then the skateboarder was like, hey man, don't call me that. And then Twitter was like, we're going to ban you if you call them skateboarders. It's like, they're literally doing it.
The day that Tim Pool happens across a woman that can tolerate him, bamboozles her into marrying and having kids with him, and if that child somehow survives to make it to school being Tim Pool's spawn, also if he takes his beanie off too, if he has to take his beanie off, then maybe I'll start listening to him about what should and shouldn't be taught to other people's kids. I think kids should learn about gay people. I think you should tell them that. Transphobia is just a smaller piece of the greater homophobia puzzle. The homophobia puzzle, yeah, I said it. 10,000 pieces. When you're talking about cishet behavior, transphobia and homophobia are not mutually exclusive. All queer people are marginalized by the same kinds of stigma. There are genuinely a lot of people who have deluded themselves and are so in denial to the point that they think that trans women are mentally ill gay men. J.K. Rowling is one of those people. And if they think that about trans people, what does that mean they think of gay people? Just some food for thought, you know, if any of J.K. Rowling's weird TERF friends want to think about that. And ultimately, to conservatives, anyone who's not straight is doing something wrong. Ben Shapiro tweets shit like this all the time. Really, the only difference between old school 70s homophobia and modern transphobia is like liberal civility politics.
Now homophobes get to say shit like, I don't hate anyone, but you just gotta keep it away from the kids. These are contradictory statements in nature. No queer people are coming for any kid. Most queer people I know don't even want anything to do with kids. They don't even want anything to do with kids. But accepting this narrative completely uncritically reveals a greater bias against gay people and queer people in general. I mean, most homophobic narratives literally crumble at the slightest bit of skepticism. But if you don't even like have that scrutiny in your brain to like question a homophobic narrative, then you might just be homophobic. That's like,
it's no secret that there's a culture of right-wing extremists that say shit like, kill your local pedophile. So it would make sense to, you know, weaponize that by calling people pedophiles, you know, if you want them to die. The groomer narrative is a weapon, and it's propagated by grifters and useful idiots from all over media. And while the groomer narrative may be powerful as a propaganda tool, it's not very sound. But yeah, sure, let's say that there is any sort of legitimacy behind the idea that gay people are grooming kids. Not that there's any fucking study to support that ever, but, you know, if that's the narrative we're going with, we're gonna have to talk some facts and logic. So if you're a conservative watching, this is the part where you're gonna turn off the video. I know you guys aren't really huge on facts and logic, so make sure to press subscribe. The source that I found on this is a UCLA Williams Institute study on demographics of people in sex offender registries all across the United States. For some reason, the sex offender registry, I don't think, keeps track of sexuality. So they had to survey people on the sex offender registry to even get the data. So right from the top, basics. 80% of the people in this registry are straight. I think we're done, right? That 96% of them are men, and about 40% of these straight men sexually abuse their own family members compared to just 24% of queer people. Interesting. Despite that, though, queer people are more likely to be incarcerated. 84% of queer sex offenders have been to prison or jail. 10% of them are sent to conversion therapy, which is basically just legal torture. 27% of straight sex offenders never see prison or jail. And even when straight sex offenders do go to jail, they're more likely to be released earlier, serving overall shorter sentences. Meanwhile, 5% of queer people are sent to more than 25 years in prison, compared to just 1.3% of straight sex offenders, even though they make up 80% of sex offenders. I just love saving kids by letting pedophiles go. I gave them a real stern talking to. And keep in mind, these straight people that are getting shorter sentences or sometimes not seeing jail at all are doing more sexual assault of minors, indecent exposure, more molestation, more illegal recording, and more solicitation, which would cover grooming. Oh, thank fucking God, 27% of these people don't even have to worry about seeing jail. There is no evidence that queer people are grooming kids into becoming gay, or really are harming children at a disproportional rate at all. It's just not there. But I mean, calling gay people groomers for a living is just a great cover for being a pedophile, I'll say it. There's utility in the groomer narrative, right? It make money. Career homophobes are just have no principles and they're evil and I hate them. I hate them. Not that it's hard to do their job. These people are fucking idiots. I mean, every Daily Wire character is literally just a different flavor of stooge, right? But when you're pandering to irrational hatred, you can be as illogical as you want. And it's all for the goddamn kids. Yes, it is. Speaking of hypocrites who love, hurting children, let's talk about John Roach. John Roach was a Catholic archbishop in the Twin Cities from the 70s until the 90s. Listen, I know I said Catholic, and yes, it's exactly what you think. It is pretty extensively documented how much of a pedophile defender Archbishop John Roach was. He literally had the sexual assaulter of multiple boys sign a contract that said, don't go to the youth group because you're a mega pedophile. And wouldn't you know it, that wasn't the end of that priest's sexual assault. John Roach was never charged or arrested with anything. It's not even on his Wikipedia page. And he's long dead now, but thank God he saved all the rest of the kids from gay people. He also probably saved a lot of kids when he was drunk driving and plowed his car into the side of a convenience store. That's real. That's actually the coolest thing he did. It's no news that the Catholic Church is full of creepy freaks. We already know. Everyone knows. But all these conservatives all say the same shit about gay people. And listen, if you're friends with pedophiles and you say the same stuff as pedophiles, I don't know if you're all that good of a guy. I don't know. Anita Brandt, for example, celebrity spokesperson for orange juice, turned celebrity spokesperson for hating gay people. And it was all to protect her kids. While now we all know her as some hag who took a pie to the face, Save Our Children chapters were opening up all over the country, and she was helping spread a lot of misinformation about gay people that still kind of permeates today.
The only rights it will really give is not equal work for equal pay, but equal gay. It will do and give more rights to the homosexuals to marry and to adopt children.
When Anita Brandt and the Save Our Children Coalition won the Miami-Dade County vote to overturn protections for gay people for housing and public services, in attendance was a California senator named John Briggs. He was so excited about the Save Our Children Coalition in Miami that he went back to California and drafted a state proposition known as Proposition 6, or the Briggs Initiative. This bill was fucking nuts. It was designed to keep gay teachers out of schools, but it was so broad that it could have been used to fire teachers for public homosexual conduct, which is defined as the advocating, soliciting, imposing, encouraging, or promoting of private or public homosexual activity directed at or likely to come to the attention of school children and or other employees, as in other teachers. So we're not even protecting the kids anymore. We're protecting the adults too. 2,823,293 people voted for this bill. The bill failed, but those nearly 3 million people don't just disappear. They have kids and teach their kids their fucking stupid ideas that are wrong. But the new generations don't care about gay people. They care about trans people and what bathroom they should use and what sports team they should be on, the important stuff. Conservatives care so much about high school girls soccer that it's normal, actually. But now we have state laws determining children's sports, so that's good. Thank God we legislated that. In Florida, apparently anyone in attendance at a sports game can request a sex verification to make sure that the children's sport is being played as fairly as possible. I mean, just in case Jerry down the street's just wondering what the high school athletes got going on in their pants, he can get some info on that. That's just freedom. In Kansas, trans kids are banned from kindergarten until college from participating in any women's sports. The bill doesn't mention sex verification in the same way that Florida's does, but a lot of these bills mimic each other in language and create precedent for the same kinds of things. I mean, it ultimately just boils down. What do you want to do? Do you want to see the kids' genitals to make sure that they're the sex and gender that you want them to be, or are you just gonna fucking listen to what the kid says? Just who cares? There's a listening problem in America. And the fact that they don't even legislate boys' sports in the same way is really telling. It's not just legislation either. Matt Walsh, famous for the What is a Woman propaganda film, which features pictures of an AFAB minor in it. No, guys, that's normal, guys. He's the normal one. Don't even check his hard drives. He recently also claimed that the Trevor Project had a sex chat room for minors. That's not even close to real. And it's probably one of the most vile lies he's ever told. There is an entire living, breathing media machine dedicated to smearing gay people. Drag queens are casting little spells on babies to make them trans. Children's books are too woke, and they're teaching everyone how to do HRT.
So don't ask me to stop covering. I'm not.
No. It's a hate operation, and it's genuinely bloodthirsty. There's no other reason to target some of the most vulnerable people in some of the most vulnerable places. The amount of minors that transition in this country is minuscule. And these people still want to target the very, very few resources that those kids have. And now we got, good folks like Scott Libido going into the Target and screaming at people.
Last week was Cop Week. Did we put a display up supporting our police? No, we didn't. Corporate better change their fucking ways. You're gonna go down like Budweiser. That's all right. You want to call the cops? I'm fine. I'll be doing whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, man, you're the hero here. You're on the right side. None of this is new. It's the same kind of homophobia that's been around longer than any of us. The Groomer narrative is a weapon designed by right-wing think tanks to discredit gay people for their struggle for civil rights. The Groomer narrative is a twisted projection, parroted by fraudulent soulless snakes that cry over and over about how they want to protect children. But the actions taken by conservatives are nothing but petty, cruel, and dangerous for kids in this country, especially queer kids. These save the kids motherfuckers do way more harm to children than not. I mean, multiple pedophiles have used this movement as a cover to groom and abuse kids. And that's my biggest question of all. If it was so easy to just groom kids by being gay, why are all the pedophiles hiding with the conservatives?